So hello and welcome to today's webinar. We're gonna wait just a couple of minutes more before we get started, so some more people have a chance to join. But we'll start at 2 o'clock. Yeah, good. No. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we can see now, it is the whole hour, 2 o'clock this Tuesday. My name is Sebastian Lennerson. I am the commercial master trainer for Microsoft here in the Nordics, and we've teamed up, of course, with our friends at Also for yet another webinar on OneDrive and SharePoint. So we're super excited for all of you joining us here today. And please, if you have any questions whatsoever, just write them in the chat, and I will make sure to monitor the chat as good as I can do and answer them consequently during this webinar. Well, who am I? I can just start with a brief introduction of myself. Sebastian Lennerson, living in Stockholm, Sweden, and started with Microsoft in August. I think it is amazing to be working with such a company and working within tech, seeing all of the progress that we are making around these areas. So really interesting time to be working with a company such as Microsoft, of course, with all the distance work and everything alike that is taking place. With that being said, I think we will jump straight into the presentation, which of course is going to be around OneDrive and SharePoint. And for some of you who joined me last week, we had a discussion around OneDrive and SharePoint then as well. But you can stay safe knowing that we are not going to talk as much about the sales-oriented side and more as to a tech-oriented side this time around. So today's agenda will be around the basics of OneDrive, of course, but we're also going to look into the OneDrive and SharePoint setup. And then finally, we are going to look a little bit into how we can move a traditional on-premises storage to a cloud solution, and also how to facilitate solutions which are hybrid between these two. Because what we notice out there is, of course, that the workforce is mobile and that people have new demands on how they can stay productive, and companies have to find solutions since their employees can't work from their offices all the time. And as you know, 2020 has really been the year that put the whole situation of remote work on an edge. So being with the best solution both from a compliance and safety perspective, but also from a user-friendly perspective, is really important. And therefore, I'm really glad to be talking about SharePoint and OneDrive with you here today. So first and foremost, just some basics around OneDrive. And as you may know, of course, when you get a Microsoft 365 business standard license, there is 1 terabyte of OneDrive cloud storage included within the license. So all your users out there just have to download the OneDrive app if they're on Microsoft 365 business standard. And this enables them to back up their whole computer and make sure that they can store their data, both company data and private data, in a safe environment. And that goes no matter if they are on their phone or if it's on their work computer or even their daughter's iPad. It's just about creating a solution for employees to stay safe no matter what device they are on, so that they can work from anywhere at any time. But as we all know, it's also really important just to protect the sensitive data that we have. And therefore, I'm going to touch base a little bit about the ransomware detection and how to recover a OneDrive, because those are 2 of the most central aspects of safety and preventing hacking attacks from occurring on a OneDrive solution. So with that being said, if your customers start using OneDrive, they will benefit from really, really neat features. And many of us out there might be on OneDrive already, but when we are about to share a file, we will go to Google or Bing and we will search for some type of service that offers us to transfer a file via their cloud. Actually, you don't have to do that, of course, because you can just use OneDrive. It is so much simpler and it is so much safer, because we actually don't know what we agree on when we accept the license deals, because frankly, who reads the whole user agreement? So by using these third-party apps to transfer data in between accounts and to our clients and to people that we collaborate on, we are putting data at risk and at danger. So it's really simple to stop doing that by just using OneDrive instead. You can easily set up the share to suit your needs, and you can set up password protection, you can set up the link to expire, etc., etc. I will look into that in just a bit, because OneDrive offers a lot of different cloud-enabled and enhanced tools. It's a way for us to be able to use our documents and collaborate more efficiently than ever before. And OneDrive, by doing that and by enabling that, is actually the whole foundation for the SharePoint services. Because without the cloud, 1 terabyte of cloud in OneDrive, we'd simply not have the cloud solution that we can offer with OneDrive and SharePoint. So OneDrive, of course, offers your files on demand, which means that no matter on what device you're on, or if you're in a browser window, or if you want to open a desktop app, no matter what, you can always access your files, log in a secure environment, and continue working where you had to leave off. Or for example, if you have a coworker that quits, you don't lose their files just because they have closed down their computer for good. It is all up in the cloud and all available for you to collaborate on and continue working, keeping up the momentum that you created. OneDrive also offers a service called Known Folder Move, which enables you to monitor and see what is going on within your OneDrive, knowing who and what type of changes has been made on your drive. Really important tools in today's environment, because no matter if we want to recognize it or not, theft of company data is a huge issue. And one of the biggest threats is actually the company's own employees. That is, employees that try to actually counterwork their own employer by ruining OneDrives and such. So by having Known Folder Move, we can prevent this. I'll look into that in just a bit. First, I want to talk about modern attachment and file restorer. So modern attachments. When you want to share something outside of your organization to a coworker or whatever it might be, it's really simple to just do it with OneDrive. And instead of having to set permissions and go into settings, yada, yada, you can do it so much more simple. As you can see here on the picture, it's easily done by just pressing the drop down once you've attached the file to the email. There you can change the permissions just as it might suit you. So for example, if you're sending it to your favorite colleague and you want that colleague's input and help on editing a document, just put organization can edit. If you're sending it to an external party that needs to download the information to use for a marketing video or whatever it might be, just choose anyone can view. By not choosing anyone can edit, you ensure that no one can sabotage your work. They can only download it on their computer. What they do after that is of course up to them, but it's just this extra layer of protection, making sure that you stay safe. And if you want to prevent people from sharing what you just sent to them, of course you can choose recipients can view and recipients can edit, so that you ensure they don't forward it to some other source or forward it to their personal email, whatever it might be. So that's the kind of modern attachments that OneDrive enables, just making it so much more user-friendly. And with that said, let's go back to what I talked about previously, the employee that actually tries to sabotage for the employer. Well, if you put on the monitor so that monitoring so that you know what is going on your OneDrive, you can also restore if you see that changes has been made that you did not sign up for. So for example, if anyone has removed anything from your OneDrive, you have a lot of days, and I'll touch base upon that later, but you have 93 days on you to actually restore what was deleted. So making sure that you stay in control and stay in charge of your data and your organization's data, because it is a huge issue out there, and there are numerous reports telling about this. So making sure that you can restore your files is really important in OneDrive, and it's really easy to just do that. It's also a way, of course, of preventing hacker attacks. If you have some kind of malware on your OneDrive, just make sure that you restore it to a point in time prior to the attack happening. Of course, the data that has been compromised will still be compromised, but you can get back to work and rescue the data that wasn't compromised and set back the clock to a time before it happened. But it's also too good to remember that we do have the ransomware detection built into OneDrive. So everything that is uploaded and downloaded and on OneDrive is continuously scanned for ransomware, just to make sure that we avoid these kind of things from happening in the first place. With that being said, I just want to talk briefly about OneDrive for Enterprise, because what we got here is a solution that of course aims to a little bit larger corporations than we normally see out there. But there are some things that might interest the SMB customers within the OneDrive for Enterprise suite. And it's not impossible for them to have a Microsoft 365 business standard and still get a OneDrive Enterprise license on top of that. So therefore, I'm just going to touch base briefly on this. So what we got, of course, is File Restorer, which we already find in the OneDrive for SMBs. We have the data loss prevention, but then we have something called auditing and reporting, and encryption of data in transit and at rest. And of course, the encryption of data is just what it sounds like, but I'm going to touch base upon that really soon. So first and foremost, auditing the data that's on your OneDrive, because if you're a large corporation, you want to know what's going on with your company's data. And the best way to do this is, of course, by having the OneDrive for Enterprise suite, because then it's really easy for the IT administrator to just create an overview of what has happened, who has done it, and what have they done. So this can also be exported to Power BI just to create a report on anything that might be interesting for the company in question. With that being said, I'm actually going to skip over to the encryption of data. And this goes for both OneDrive for SMBs and OneDrive for enterprise. What we got here is, of course, the fact that everything on our OneDrive is broken down to 64 kilobit pieces, which are individually encrypted. This makes sure that even if we have a hacker attack that gets to our OneDrive, they will only find fragments of the actual data, making it very, very hard for the hacker to actually compromise the company's data and creating a solution which is, well, one of the branch leading and of course complies to all kind of safety regulation and compliance regulations in the world. So it's just a way of making sure that we can stay safe. And one way of also meeting the customer needs is by offering the OneDrive for enterprise, where they can get and use their own customer controlled encryption keys. And this is easily done with the Microsoft Azure Key Vault. Just upload the key encryption keys to there, and your customers can use their own company's encryption keys to protect their own data. And when talking about data, I'm also going to talk a little bit about the security and governance features that we got in SharePoint and OneDrive. Because when you're on OneDrive, you want to have a complete overview and possibility to actually govern the kind of data that's on the SharePoint and OneDrive. So we have features that's built in which helps you to automatically delete files. For example, if you have user data that you can only keep for a year due to GDPR, you can schedule deletion of this kind of data immediately when you upload it to your SharePoint or OneDrive. Just a feature which makes administration a whole lot more simple. But it's also a matter of making it easy for your employees to navigate the SharePoint and OneDrive by minimizing the amount of unnecessary data that is on the actual drive. And that is easily done if you need to retain and delete data on your SharePoint. All you have to do is set deletion of a user profile. This profile then gives you 7 days of notice to extract all the type of data that you might need from the profile if in case an employee quits his job or whatever it might be. It is then stored in the recycle bin for 93 days, just giving you some extra time to make sure that you don't lose valuable data when you need to remove a user from a SharePoint or a OneDrive. With that being said, I am going to attempt to show you a brief video on SharePoint. I think you'll be able to see the video. I am not sure you will be able to hear the sound. So what this video is, because I am pretty certain you are not able to hear the sound right now, because not even I am. But this is basically just a brief overview of how we can manage a SharePoint. Because what we want to do is not just have OneDrive that with all the data from every employee of the company on public display for the rest. We want to create the intranet where the employees can collaborate within their teams. So for example, if we have the HR department, we want them to be able to create their own SharePoint where they can manage important files for their line of business. Or as in this case, we have the sales department, making sure that they can share their data and keep up their momentum within their team. And that can also be extended so that the senior management of the company also can access these kind of SharePoints. Just neat features, making it more user-friendly and more intuitive for companies to stay productive from anywhere on any device. So here we can see they're actually editing the same file immediately on their phone, which is then automatically uploaded to the SharePoint. And with that being said, we can conclude the video. So if you need to get started on SharePoint, it's really simple. All you have to do, if you have a Microsoft 365 or a Server 2019 license, is that you access the website, if it's a Server 2019, or of course the Microsoft 365 site. On there, you just click SharePoint, and for a one-man or two-man business, it's as simple as that. If you're a bigger, small or medium business, you might want to look into creating an adoption plan and also creating a plan for how are you going to use the SharePoint and for what purpose. But it is meant to be simple, and all you have to do is a single click and then you're started. You just create your team and you add the team members, because we don't want it to be a lot of hassle. We want it to be really simple to do. And talking about stuff that is simple to do, if you need to sync an on-prem solution with the OneDrive and SharePoint, it is also simple to do. All you have to do is sign in to the SharePoint, open the library that you want to sync, and select the sync button. By doing so, you make sure that all files that are in the library automatically at all times sync with SharePoint via OneDrive. And this means that you don't have to even click save when you work on PowerPoint. And of course, there are many jokes out there in regards to the autosync function, where people have the autosync, but as they are so used to using save, they always click an extra time save as. But in reality, you don't have to worry about saving a file ever again, because it's always up to date and it always syncs automatically. It's that simple, and it's a great solution for every SMB customer out there in terms of saving and making sure that all your data is synced. But there are times when you have the kind of environment where you have to take the extra step to make sure that everything syncs as it should. And this goes when you're on a OneDrive solution that is older, because on the modern OneDrive, you have the single cloud as the symbol. The easiest way to see if they're on a legacy version of OneDrive is that the symbol or the logo is dual clouds, one smaller in front and one bigger at the back. If they're on these type of OneDrives, the way of conducting it is slightly different. But all you have to do is press the Windows tab and then search for OneDrive. And then you'll just open this and you'll have to copy the URL, to the source which you want to sync. From there, it's as simple as always. It's automatically synced and you don't have to do anything else. So no matter if they're on the latest solution of OneDrive or on a legacy solution, it's really simple to just get them started. And with that being said, I can highly recommend for any one of you who want to learn more about OneDrive to not only, of course, join our up and coming webinars, which we do bi-weekly with also, but also to go to Expert Zone. If you scan these two QR codes, you'll find great resources to learn more about OneDrive. So both of these are really good, and Expert Zone at large is also a great platform for learning. Some of you might already be on Expert Zone, but for others that haven't heard of it, I highly recommend that you register on Expert Zone. You can do so by just scanning the same QR codes, and you'll end up by having to register first before viewing these modules. But Expert Zone is an e-learning platform that's created by Microsoft, and all the content is curated to suit your line of business. So we make sure that instead of just having to Bing or Google results and finding things which you are not certain is applicable for your market, you can easily go to Expert Zone, and you know that when you choose Sweden or Finland or Denmark or Norway, you have the results and the information that is relevant for your exact market and your clientele and audience. So I highly recommend Expert Zone, and of course joining our next and up and coming webinars. And with that being said, I would actually like to conclude today's session. From what I can see, there has been no questions in the chat so far. But if you have any, take your time and write them now, because I would highly appreciate any questions whatsoever. If there was anything that was unclear or needs clarification, or if you have any special requests in regards to OneDrive and SharePoint or Microsoft at large, of course. But other than that, I would also love if you would give me some feedback on this webinar. And that can easily be done by scanning the QR code that you can see here on the screen. With that being said, I would like to say thank you for tuning in this Tuesday, and I hope to see you on our up and coming webinars.